What's going on, guys? It's your boy on wheels, CT Berry, coming at you for another video. I've already uploaded one video this evening, but there was no sound to it. Don't know what happened there, so we're going to do this again. But I'm not going to screw around with my stand that I usually put my iPad on, because that thing was giving me crap when I started recording the first video. So I'm just going to be laid back here in my chair, all nice and comfortable, because my ass hurts from sitting in this thing for too long. And we're just going to record the video the lazy way today. Okay? So, this evening, or yesterday, because it's 12:33 right now, we had at Top Notch Wrestling Alliance, we had the Ryan James Memorial Show. Well, their version, because WWE up in Parkersburg had one. You know, all these guys are just paying tribute to this great wrestler and great man that we lost way too soon. And guys, let me tell you what, TWA killed it. I mean, knocked it out of the park. I mean, the matches were awesome. I mean, just so much class all around. So Brad and company, awesome job, guys. I know Ryan was grinning ear to ear up in the sky, and I know his family really, really appreciated it. And that, you know, we all came together to honor someone who put his body on the line for entertainment that we all love. And you know, you could just see, you know, everyone in the locker room loved him. Nobody had anything bad to say about him, because, you know, like, these guys go and they play characters, you know, they play bad guys, they mouth off to fans on their way to the ring, but behind the curtain, they're just human beings like you and I. And some of them, even though they play the most obnoxious assholes in front of the camera and in the ring, they're some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It's like, you know, I give Crowley and Draven a lot of crap at wrestling events, but, you know, the men behind the characters, it's like, we've talked on Facebook, and they're great guys. So, you know, I love this business. It is a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and something that, you know, as a fan, I feel I am a part of that brotherhood, and it's like a dream come true. You know, I've been going to WWE for about a month now. I've been going to TWA for a couple years now. And then I also went to XWE up in Nelsonville at the end of last month, and I'm hopefully going to go again this month. So, I mean, man, I'm just living the ultimate dream. And then, you know, getting on here and talking about it with you guys, because, you know, the original followers of my channel, you know, you were with me when I was just unboxing movies and video games, and, you know, I just got so tired of that. You know, I didn't feel a passion for it, you know, and this I do. Like, I love doing this. I love talking about wrestling with you guys, and, you know, the different promotions around the world, and it's just cool that, you know, I get to do this. You know, so thank you guys for your support on my channel. And so without further ado, let's cut the sappy crap and talk wrestling. So, I'll talk about WWE first, since that show's kind of new to me. I mean, it's a decent show, I like going, I mean, it's only $10 to get in, so, I mean, the only thing I wish is they would have a bigger venue, and they would plan a lot of their matches ahead of time. Because at TWA, like, this evening, we had 3 matches, then we had an intermission, and then we had 3 more matches. So, a pretty organized show, and you knew the matches ahead of time. Which I know they say the card's subject to change, because something happens, like wrestler can't make it for whatever reason, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, these guys, and I'm not trying to talk crap about them, I'm really not, because the guys are super awesome up there. Have been nothing but nice to me ever since I've come and started watching them. But, and I think they know this. The fans definitely know it. Just plan your matches ahead of time. Know what you're going to do before you have the show. Like, don't just have guys walk in the walker room and be like, hey, I want to wrestle you. And then, because at the Ryan James Memorial Show, that show was 4 hours. And, and these 2 guys, there was a guy named Warhorse and this other guy. I can't remember his name. But, and it was a decent match. It was a pretty good match. But, there was no story. You didn't know who was the good guy, who was the bad guy. It was just 2 guys that went out and wrestled. You gotta have a story, even if there's 2 good guys. Even if it's a match about respect or whatever, at least there's some kind of story there. So, that's all. And, and at that show, a guy, and I may have talked about this on the channel already, but a guy named Nate Steele was doing a run-in into the ring, and he gashed his knee on the ring steps because the ring steps weren't sturdy. And where I was sitting, which it did look better at the last show that I was at, but at the Memorial Show, the ring was coming up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, how is this safe? Like, the ring has tape on it. It doesn't... they need to get a new ring, which I understand these independent promotions do not make a lot of money, but, get a bigger venue, try to get a better ring that's safer for the wrestlers, and just have a story. Because the wrestlers in the locker room that do this are talented. They know how to go in the ring, but just put a meaning behind it, which... I will say that, the couple matches that they do have planned, they have Alan Platinum and Wildcat and a no disqualification. And then, Taxi and Maverick have been feuding over, I think it's called the Hybrid title. They've been feuding over that for a while. So, there's some story there. And then, for the 3rd time in a row, we are going to have the tag champions Dead Cell with Vincent Cross and Damian Abel taking on Ryan Steele and Nate Steele of the Hellhounds. But this time the Hellhounds are putting their career on the line, which means that if they lose, they retire. So, it's improving. But, it's like, at the last show, bell time was supposed to be at 7. They didn't get out there to do the national anthem until 7:20. And it's like literally the fans were sitting there. It's like, what are we waiting for? Santa Claus? Like somebody legit made that comment. And then, they were like, we're going to take an intermission. And one little girl was, I think she's the daughter of one of the wrestlers. And she was like, we had 2 matches. 2. And then they had like 30-minute intermission, and then they had 2 more matches, and then the show was done. Which, at least the card was not 4 hours, but still, they need to do some improving. I'll keep going to support the talent, but, there does need to be some improvement there. But let's talk last night's show with the Ryan James Memorial Show TWA version, is what we'll call it. And like I said, it was a really, really classy show. Like, they did the 10 bell salute, and they had his family come into the ring, and they retired the TWA tag team titles. They gave one to Nate's fiance, and then they gave another one to his mother. And then they unveiled new tag team titles. So, and then, they did, and then Dale was in the ring talking about Ryan and, slash Nate. Ryan James was his wrestling name. Nate Thompson was his real name. Dale was in the ring talking about, Ryan and what he meant to everybody, and, he challenged the fans to, help one another out and be kind to one another like Nate was. And it was just a really good segment in the ring, very, very emotional. The 10 bell salute is always bone chilling. And to start the show, we had Connor Cross take on Patches the Clown. And Patches was making his return to TWA after being sidelined with a wrist injury. And, that was a pretty back and forth match, Patches started out playing his little games, and then Connor, was done playing his games and beat on him for a while, and then Patches, got his offense in a little bit. But ultimately, the match was over when Connor Cross locked in a submission, and Patches tapped out, and that gave Connor the win. So, and I've declared Connor as like a modern day Kurt Angle Samoa Joe. The guy is great in the ring and has a bright future in the wrestling business. Then we had, these matches are going to be in no particular order, by the way. We had the number 1 contender for the TWA title match, which will take place July 8th. It was the Rogue Joshua Charles versus Chuck Connick. Joshua Charles has won a few number 1 contenders matches and has came up just short winning the TWA title. So, back and forth match. Again, 2 guys that have been in TWA for a while. And ultimately, Chuck Connick was able to hit his facebuster finishing maneuver. It's like the Bella Buster, like the move that the Bella twins used to hit back in the day. He hit that on Joshua for the win. So Chuck Connick will challenge for the TWA title on July 8th. And then we had Chris Hex versus TWA newcomer King Logan Drake. Logan Drake, he was the bad guy, and he had this King character, and he pandered to the crowd by trying to get everybody to praise him, and then he wanted silence, and then, of course, the crowd just, got loud and booed him, and my hat just came off my head. So him and Chris Hex went back and forth, and ultimately Chris Hex was able to hit what looks to be like a code breaker that he hits. Like, he'll kick him in the gut, and then he'll run against the ropes and hit like some kind of face buster code breaker looking thing for the win. And I was impressed with Logan Drake. I mean, we do need some good established heels in TWA, so hopefully he makes a comeback and, establishes himself as a dominant heel. And then we had, for the Legacy title, we had Vane Lewis challenging Zayden Kane. So, a few shows ago, Zayden Kane won the Legacy title from Vane Lewis. And so this time, Vane Lewis got his rematch, and, he was trying to get Zayden to go on his side, and then Zayden's like, if you try it, I'll shake your hand, but if you try any funny business, I'm going to kick you in the face. Well, Vane Lewis tried typical heelish tactics and got kicked and punched in the face. So, I mean, Zayden beat on him for a while, and then Vane Lewis was able to get some offense in, and, but ultimately, Vane had Zayden in what looked to be a jackknife cover pin, and he had his arm against the rope and tried to tell referee Cameron to count. Of course, you cannot have your hand on the rope or feet on the rope while you're trying to pin, so referee Cameron wouldn't count. And then referee Cameron ended up kicking his arm. Zayden ended up rolling through and pinning Vane's shoulders down for the 3 count. But that wasn't all. So, Rick Rogers came out from the back because earlier in the night he defeated Zayden's buddy Yellow Man, which I'll talk about that match in a minute. And because him and Vane Lewis started to form an alliance back at the last TWA show, and then Rick knocked Zayden's manager Coach off the apron and then Vane hit Zayden from behind, and then they beat on Zayden for a while. Renegade Rick Rogers and Vane beat on Zayden for a while, and then then they threw the coach back into the ring, and then Rick Rogers hit his cutter finishing maneuver on the coach, which I will give Coach credit because he sold back really, really well. So, that was a good little segment at the end of the match. And, and I've said this before on this channel, I think Zayden is the future of pro wrestling. And I'm going to get laughed at for saying this, but put the guy in the ring with Seth Rollins tomorrow, and I guarantee you it's going to be a freaking barn burner of a match. Similar styles, similar ring abilities, And I just think it'd be a good match. But, so, let's talk about the Rick Rogers and the Yellow Man match. So, you know, at the last TWA show back in April, Renegade, Rick Rogers, and Yellow Man had a 10-minute challenge where Rick Rogers had to beat Yellow Man in 10 minutes or less. But all Yellow Man had to do was survive the 10 minutes. Like, he didn't even have to pin or submit Renegade Rick Rogers. But the match went the time limit, and Yellow Man was able to get the win because he survived the 10 minutes. Well, this time they had a rematch, and you know, it went back and forth for a while, but ultimately Rick Rogers was able to hit the cutter for the win. So, there's that match. And then we had, for the tag titles, Michael Saint of Dead Cell defending against Crowley Inc. So, a little bit of a story time. So, at the WWE event, you know, because this guy, Damian Abel, and Ryan James were this tag team called the Forsaken Souls. And so then Vincent Cross was, you know, Damian Abel's tag team partner to win the WWE tag team titles at the Ryan James Memorial Show. And then Damian grabbed a mic and said, hey, like, the Savages theme song is retired, and so is the Forsaken Souls. We're now going to go by Dead Cell. But if you follow wrestling, you will know that is what the tandem of Ryan James, Vincent Cross, and Michael Saint were called, was Dead Cell. So I'm thinking, I guarantee you Damian Abel is going to come down to TWA to team with Michael Saint to defend the tag team titles with him. And lo and behold, Michael Saint and his manager, Dr. Smiles, come out to the ring. And Crowley Inc.'s just like, just give us the titles, like, you're not going to win, da-da-da-da-da. And Dr. Smiles grabs a mic and says, I got plan B. Then we got entrance music, and lo and behold, Damian Abel comes out. And they defeated Crowley Inc. to retain the newly formed TWA, or the newly designed TWA tag titles. So, and then Mr. Crowley, being the little crybaby that he is, got a little mad because Draven had the match won. And decided, nah, we're going to do this our way. So, he tagged Crowley in. They were going to hit a double suplex on Michael Saint. Damian Abel came in the ring and broke that up, and then nailed Draven with the Black Hole Slam shades of Ryan James, because that's what Ryan used as his finisher. And then Michael Saint hit his finisher, the double knees to the face on Crowley. 1, 2, 3, Dead Cell retains. So then Crowley gets all mad and takes his shirt off and throws it and yells something at Draven and storms off to the locker room. Then we had the main event. Hold on, I gotta make sure we had Connor Cross and matches. I think that's everything. But we're going to talk about the main event now, which was Vincent Cross defending the TWA title against Big Rig. Now another little history lesson. these two guys came up in the business together and had a little rivalry after Vincent Cross either left or got kicked out of the Cold Hearted Alliance. And Big Rig played the role of then TWA Commissioner Ryan Reigns' personal bodyguard. So we're going back to the days of TWA out in Rutland. So the Cold Hearted Alliance died. It's dead. It's not a thing anymore because Ryan Reigns hasn't been in TWA in, God, 3 years. And Big Rig's now a good guy. And Vincent Cross is now the bad guy. So, because at the last show, as Vincent Cross and Dead Cell were beating up Joshua Charles, Big Rig came out with a bat. And then on an episode of TWA Power Surge, I think. No, whatever the TWA show is that's on Fire TV. There was a backstage segment where Big Rig challenged Vincent Cross for the TWA title and conned Vincent Cross into banning the other Dead Cell members from ringside. And this was a no disqualification match. So, these guys beat the living tarnation out of each other all over the ring, hit each other with cookie sheets, steel chairs, and they even brought flat screen TVs and hit each other with those. No, I'm not kidding. And Vincent Cross even DDT'd Big Rig onto one of those flat screen TVs. So, and then the thumbtacks came out to play. So, Big Rig choke bombed Vincent Cross into the thumbtacks, but Big Rig was beat up as well, so it took him a minute to get to the cover, which gave Vincent Cross enough time to kick out. So then, toward the end of the match, Vincent Cross locked Big Rig into the mandible claw. And then Big Rig also locked Vincent Cross into the bear hug at the same time. So both men had submissions on each other. And then Vincent Cross, in typical heel fashion, bit Big Rig on the head, which caused Big Rig to break his bear hug. So then, Vincent Cross still had the mandible claw on Big Rig, which got Big Rig down to the knees. And then he laid Big Rig into the thumbtacks, because you know how Mankind would lay people down when he saw the mandible claw in to pin him. And that's what happened. So, then, Michael Saint comes out after the match, and then you think it's going to be a heartfelt moment because, they help Big Rig to his feet and raise his hands, and then Vincent Cross gives a little nod of the head, and Michael Saint drills Big Rig with the double knees to the face. So they're beating up Big Rig, and then the lights go out. Then we get a runner into the ring. And the lights come back on, and lo and behold, returning from his injury caused at the hands of Dead Cell when Vincent Cross beat Samuel for the TWA title, Samuel comes back and nails Michael Saint in the head with some board-looking thing, and then hits Vincent Cross with the frame of it and gouges it into his face. Then Samuel grabs the mic and challenges Dead Cell for the TWA Tag Team titles with his new tag team partner, Big Rig, at TWA Power Surge. So then, the other match we're going to have, as I mentioned earlier, that Chuck Chronic won the number one contender. So therefore, it will be Chuck Chronic versus Vincent Cross for the TWA title at TWA Thunderstorm on July 8th. So, that's TWA Power Surge. And go check it out on Fire TV because they will have those matches uploaded. I think they do like 3 matches per episode, I think. And, yeah, so go watch that on Fire TV if you have a Fire TV. But I also think it's on YouTube as well. But then some things have happened in the other wrestling world, which I will talk about. A match I watched on Ring of Honor, on the Ring of Honor Club subscription service. It was a no honor match, which means there was like no code of honor or anything like that. And no disqualification. It was Action Andrade and Darius Martin of Top Flight versus The Kingdom, which is Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Oh my God. Let me tell you guys, that was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. I mean, these guys gave it all that they had, and props to Tony Khan for booking a hell of a match, and those 4 men for delivering. So if you haven't seen that match, I highly suggest you go watch it. And so, and then if you watch WWE, you know, Seth Rollins is the new World Heavyweight Champion, which I wanted AJ to win it personally, but I like Seth too. He's over with the crowd right now, so he deserves the title. And then they finally gave Roman Reigns 1 belt instead of him carrying, you know, the WWE and the Universal title, which, thank God, the Universal title needed to die. I hated that blue design. Absolutely despised it. And then they gave him this title that said WWE Undisputed Champion. It was black and had a gold background, and then, you know, the trademark giant WWE logo that's on every championship that WWE has. Which, it's not a bad title. I like the World Heavyweight title better, but this one's nice too. I just think they should have done pure gold like the one Snoop Dogg carries around, but that's just my opinion. And Money in the Bank's coming up, and should be an exciting show. I hope Cody wins it and then goes to SmackDown to challenge, like says, I'm challenging you at SummerSlam, and then finally Roman Reigns loses the title. I love Roman Reigns. Don't get me wrong, love the guy. Love him ever since his early Shield days. But the guy's a part-timer. He doesn't want to wrestle full-time anymore. And I understand why, because like of his history with leukemia and all that. But he does not need to be champion. You know, you need to have somebody that's defending the title once a month at every pay-per-view. Just my opinion. And the opinions of a lot of other people as well. But that will do it for me. I have literally been doing videos for an hour now. My voice is tired. And I thank you all for watching and supporting my channel. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.